Welcome, Sandra.
Hello.
Yay, so glad you're here with us. Well, let's start off by telling people a little bit about your credentials. This is about biofield tuning and the work you do with that and human blueprint. So tell us about your credentials and how you chose to get into this work.
So I have been, thank you for asking, by the way.
Yeah.
I have been a massage therapist for 30 years. And I started off my training before becoming a massage therapist with acupressure. I went to the Acupressure Institute. And in that training, I took one class, a 1 weekend class in something called sonopuncture. So using tuning forks in acupressure, basically. And then I proceeded to do zero with that. I didn't do any of the sonopuncture. And then, I'm in practice and I'm doing all sorts of energy work. And about 8 years ago, I went to Association of Comprehensive Energy Psychology conference. And I took a 1-day class in another tuning fork method. You don't necessarily need to know what that is, but I took that 1-day class in this tuning fork method. And then I took a 4-day level 1 class. And I was using those tuning forks, but I wasn't doing the method. I wasn't doing the technique that I had learned. I was using the tuning forks the way that I work with energy. They were just a tool that helped me get the energy flowing through the body where it's stuck. And then 3 years ago, I found biofield tuning, which is what I'm doing now. So using tuning forks and this hockey puck to make these sounds and working on the energy field of the person I am working with. So I've been doing intuitive work, energetic work for most of the time I've been a massage therapist. And I get a lot of information for the person who I am working with. This wasn't happening with acutonics any more than usual. But when I started doing biofield tuning, the amount of intuitive information I get is so much more than ever before.
Wow.
And it's more accurate. So I have been picking up things for my clients that they didn't tell me. This happens all the time. And it's part of how it confirms for me that this is actually doing something. Because if I find something relevant for a person that they didn't think to tell me, and I connect that for them to the issue that they are working with, to me, it makes sense of what it is I'm doing.
Wow. Could you show a little bit of enthusiasm maybe? No, I love that you love your work and you're so passionate about it. So you kind of stumbled onto it and went, oh my gosh, this is the thing that just makes my work so much more expansive. That's what I'm hearing from you. Yeah. Well, and I just had a session with you and I have to say it was amazing. So I would highly recommend this and I'd love to do some more work. So you work with the tuning fork and the hockey puck. And we'll get into this a little bit more in the podcast that we're going to do around it. So you use that, and do you work remotely or do you work in person?
I almost exclusively work with people remotely.
Wow.
On Zoom or by telephone. And there's actually a reason for that. One is it's just easy for me to work with people all over the world. But sometimes I'm working with someone who could come to me in person, but I'm more effective working with them remotely.
Why is that?
Let me tell you the story of the person who I worked with that helped me realize that I'm actually doing something. Because I've been an energy therapist for 30 years, and I really wasn't doing a lot of the energy modalities because I didn't think I was really doing anything. As a massage therapist, I'm accustomed to somebody getting off the table and I was like, oh, clearly there is something different. Right. And that wasn't happening so much with energy work. Yeah, they might feel relaxed, but it didn't really feel like I was having a significant difference. So I have someone who lives 5 minutes from here who I work with, but the shutdown that we've recently had started and she couldn't come here for massage. She had fallen on the vacuum cleaner with her hand and it was
Oh.
black and blue and she couldn't open it,
Hmm.
but she couldn't come here. So I called her on the phone and we did biofield tuning. And while I was working with her, she watched the bruise go away and she could open her hand.
Wow.
So this gave me physical evidence that something I was doing was having an effect.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then this same person, she and I, we're both massage therapists and we do craniosacral work together.
Mhm.
Craniosacral is definitely a modality that you're accustomed with. And craniosacral is both physical and it's very energetic.
Right.
So she had something going on. She had fallen and she had fractured some bones and, black and blue. It was all messy. And she could have come here, but I had her stay home. And I did biofield tuning on her while she was at home. And it helped so much with, the pain and the bruise started fading away. And I was kind of able to, when I'm doing craniosacral work, essentially, I'm helping the energy of the bones, instead of being stuck or jammed or out of place, helping them get more into alignment and then allowing things to flow. And I had so much more impact on what was going on for her doing it distance rather than having her come here.
Wow. Well, that kind of leads, so fascinating that distance would make that difference or for you, and who knows why that is. But so that leads into the question, what kinds of clients or patients are you most happy to work with?
I'm really enjoying working with entrepreneurs and their businesses. So helping them understand what their purpose is and how it is they're designed to serve, and helping if their energy gets all stuck and blocked when it comes to doing something they want to do, helping them flow with it. And I do human design using a chart that tells a lot about who you are and about your purpose. And I work with this at the same time as biofield tuning. And so doing them together. Now, when I'm working with entrepreneurs and their businesses, a lot of times what comes up is physical issues. Back pain, knees not working very well, I'm having headaches, and it's keeping them from being effective in their business. And so I'm getting to work with both physical health, injury related things, and their business at the same time.
Fantastic. And could you say a little bit more about the human blueprint? Just maybe a few sentences about what that work is and what that means.
So it's based on where the planets were at the time the person was born.
Okay.
So these planetary positions color in the chart, creating definition or colored shapes in the chart. And it tells a lot about the themes that you're going to have in your life. The themes that you're going to come into both the contribution you make, the gifts you offer, the ways you serve, and the challenges you're going to experience, the things that are difficult, the things that you don't like about your life. Why does this happen to me all of the time? Make sense of all of those things.
And what was your training in that? You've talked a little bit about biofield tuning and how you came to that. How did you come to the human blueprint?
I have been doing human design completely with online training. And over the course of, a couple of years, I learned how to do these readings.
Right.
I met my human design teacher in a teleseminar series.
Yes.
So back when they were just audio, as opposed to now, lots of teleseminar things are video, but it was all audio. And she told me things about myself and my life that make absolute sense to me now.
Hmm.
Before learning human design, I was skeptical about the positions of the planets having any relevance for me. Astrology didn't do it for me. But human design makes absolute sense to me.
Hmm. So if people wanted to look up a little bit more, they could just Google human design
Yeah.
and see it there. And we'll probably have something on that on mine myself shortly. So that would be good. Well, and so you said you like to work with entrepreneurs and business people. Would you turn away other people who had health issues or anybody who came to you? No, you'd
No.
work with anybody. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And would you say that you have particular focuses that you work on within the business spectrum? You mentioned helping people with their purpose, their design for their life.
When something is happening in my life or happening in my business that I don't like, or I don't understand, or why does this happen? I help people to be able to make sense of it and then to have practical strategies for managing it. So there's a business person who I worked with today. She's got a growing business and she's been having some issues with personnel and how she communicates with her staff and, some sudden shocking separations and, just things have not been as smooth as she would like. And I helped her understand from a human design perspective, okay, so this is why this is going this way. Try talking with people a little bit differently and it might go easier. And then we do biofield tuning to help the energy that she had all about it to be able to flow more so that she can have more experience of ease and peace. And, part of her issue is that she's working too hard. And I helped her see that approaching things this new way might help her actually to feel more calm and peaceful and less pressured in her life and in her business.
Fantastic. Great story too. So let's move into a little bit more personal stuff about who you are, Sandra. How would your closest friends and colleagues describe you?
Well, it's a little bit embarrassing maybe to say this, but the people who have done biofield tuning with me, or the combination of biofield tuning and human design, they tell me I'm a miracle worker, you are a miracle, you're a genius, because some of the things that I wind up impacting with doing biofield tuning just kind of shocks people that it has the effect that it does.
Wow. Well, having experienced your work even just once and knowing just a little bit about you, you're just so passionate and enthusiastic and so caring and fully present. Those are some of the ways that I experience you as well, which is so wonderful in a practitioner too. So thank you. Uh, did you
And
want to
I'm
say anything else?
very intuitive,
Yes.
very intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
I've
makes
learned to guide my life intuitively, like all of the time, whether I'm working or not. And it just helps me feel like I'm in the right place.
amazing. If we could
Yeah.
all feel so, wouldn't that be great? That's awesome. So what does an initial session typically look like? If someone was going to hire you and say, yeah, I want to work with this passionate, intuitive person who works miracles, what would a first session look like and how do you typically book?
I start off with finding out what the person wants and needs.
Mhm.
That's really the center of it for me. And I learned this about myself in human design, several years ago. I am not able to do a reading for someone without knowing what they're struggling with. The same thing with biofield tuning. If I know nothing about what it is you're concerned about, what your questions are, it's like I can't do anything.
Hmm.
I might start doing tuning, but there's like no context for it.
Hmm.
So I really need your story. I need your concerns, the things you're struggling with. And once I realized this about myself and I looked at my human design chart, it makes sense. because a central aspect of my human design chart is listening and the story. And so it's like, oh, that makes sense why I can't do such and such without hearing from somebody what they need. So that's the first part. And then we start doing biofield tuning. And I create a hologram that represents the person that I'm working with. And I work with connecting you to the earth using the sound, having the central channel be energized and flowing, connecting you to the sun, and bringing energy from the sun and from God down and connecting you to the earth. That's what I call being grounded. So that's how I start all of the biofield tuning sessions. Now, the reality is, at least for someone's first session with me, a lot of times the whole session is doing that. Because as I am working through the central channel, all of life's issues show up in that central channel. Because it parallels with the chakra system. And you're familiar with the chakra system.
Yes.
All of the issues in life are represented in the chakra system.
And for those people who aren't familiar with the chakra system, can you just do a brief explanation?
There's 7 energy centers located on the body that each represent different issues. So for example, the root chakra, issues associated with safety, security, danger. Heart chakra, associated with being myself, love. Throat chakra, expressing myself in the world, right? So it's like there's that, I think it's based on East Indian theory, right? Having these chakra centers, these energy centers, they spin and all of that. So that system is part of the center of the structure of how human design, biofield tuning is done. And it's actually part of the center of how the human design chart is organized. But all of life's issues are represented in those energy centers. So by working with the energy centers, I'm working on all of the issues in life. So the way I do biofield tuning, I'm maybe different from many of the other biofield tuning practitioners. I am working with all of those issues as we go through that central channel.
Well, it sounds like powerful work. And again, I look forward to experiencing more of that in my own life. So what do you do in your life to stay healthy? What are some of the things you do?
The most important thing is I eat well. I eat good food, just to be honest, right? I cook food every day. And I know Esther well enough to know that she does the same thing. Okay?
Yeah.
So yes, technically I do eat out of some packages, but really not very much. It's basically single ingredient kinds of foods that make up what winds up to be pretty good, beautiful meals. So that's really the heart of it. You know, having to eat good food, because that's what becomes the physical body. That's what enables all of the function to happen. Drinking good water. And I go to extraordinary efforts to energize and clean and just, structure all the stuff for my water. I take supplements. And I get a lot of self-care. So I work with other practitioners. And then a big part of what keeps me healthy is I don't allow myself to stay too stuck or too upset. And so I communicate if something is stuck, or, I get the help that I need, so that as much as possible, I like basically a state of clarity, staying clear.
A good practice to maintain, for sure. Wow, sounds like some good things. And in that context, what's something in your life that you're most grateful for?
One is I'm just grateful for my husband. That's just the most important thing, really. And then I am really grateful for the strengths of my intuitive capabilities. It's like it's so much a normal part of my life. I don't know what it would be like to not have intuition. I guide my daily decisions with it. And then how it helps me really connect with people is just a treasure, because I love connecting with people.
Yeah.
And
And you're so good at it.
yeah, thank you. With human design, it enables me to get to the heart of who somebody is,
Mhm.
like really quickly. And the same thing with biofield tuning. So it's like with biofield tuning, I see how energetically somebody is expressing their purpose, how they're expressing the contribution they make in the world. I see that energetically. And when I tell the person that, a lot of times it's not something they're conscious of.
Right.
And so it's like, here's an example. The first time this happened, I was working on somebody who I've never actually met in person. And I saw like love coming from her heart and going to the people in her life.
Mhm.
And I told her, I see this love beaming out of your heart, going to your son, to your clients. And she said, like, this was a normal thing. Well, yeah, I send people love from my heart every day.
That's great.
But she didn't realize that this is her service. And so having me see that and acknowledge it to her, that it was like visible, was like a validation for who
Mm.
she is. And she just like relaxed. It was so beautiful.
Oh, that's great. What an excellent story. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together here, Sandra. Could you tell us something that you'd like to leave the listener with today? What's something you would like to encourage people with or say as a wrap up here?
From the perspective of biofield tuning, a lot of times I am helping people who are stressed and overwhelmed. And I want to give people a way to be able to help themselves let go of the stress and overwhelm on their own. So it's like, just imagine all of that stress and pressure and responsibility are weighing on your shoulders. And imagine all just kind of, you can let it drop off and let those stresses and pressures off your shoulders, off your back, and releasing it to the ground, so you don't have to carry all of that pressure around. And
That just feels really good right in the moment too. Well,
I'm
what
always reminding people to breathe. So
yeah,
breathe.
indeed. It's on your signature, if I recall, in your emails. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for this time. Anybody who's watching Sandra, you're sure to enjoy a session with her should you choose to book one. And you can see her profile anytime online on Mind Myself. Thank you for being with us today, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Esther.